Hello and welcome into the Locked On Wolves podcast. We are live on the POSTCAST following the Timberwolves lost the Denver Nuggets on Wednesday night. Marney Gellner of Bally Sports North joins the show to break down the game. The Locked On Wolves POSTCAST starts right now.
You are Locked On Wolves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Wolves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Beecken. I'm the host of Locked On Wolves. I'm joined by Marney Gellner of Bally Sports North. We're going to talk about the Wolves lost the Nuggets on Wednesday. And Marney, this was a fun game. The Wolves led for most of it. They were up at least most of the middle parts of the game. They were up at halftime by 5. Kind of carried a lead for a lot of the third quarter. Very competitive fourth quarter. They were actually up 5 with under 3 minutes to play. D'Angelo Russell hit a big 3, and then the offense stagnated, which is probably a kind way to say it. And unfortunately, the Wolves end up losing to Denver by 4.
Yeah, and worse than up 5 with, or would you say up 5 with 5 to go?
Up 5 with about 3 to go, yeah.
2.5 to go. The Wolves led 118-113, and Minnesota never scored again. So Denver ended up going on a 9-0 run to close out the game. And the Wolves that's 2 games in a row where the Wolves just couldn't bring it home. They had a chance. They just weren't crisp enough. They didn't hit the shots. They didn't stop the opponent from hitting the shots. But man, I mean, to play Denver that tough at home where the Nuggets are just incredible this season, I thought it was a wonderful effort from the Wolves without Rudy Gobert. And I know there are no moral victories, so we're not going to celebrate the fact that the Wolves played well but got the loss. But I do think I'm still seeing signs of this team starting to put things together. They just couldn't hit shots in the final couple minutes tonight.
Yeah, and I think to what you said, I think both could be true, right? I think there can be no moral victories. We could be upset about them losing this game, a game they led for much of it, and they easily could have won. But you take a half step back and realize this is the best team in the West. Fantastic home court advantage. No Rudy Gobert, obviously no Towns, also no Austin Rivers, no Jordan McLaughlin. Like, you're missing 4 rotation guys. You're probably your 2 best players. There's no shame in this loss. It's just disappointing because it was a very winnable game with the rest advantage and everything too. So I think both can be true. Like, we can acknowledge that. I thought some things the Wolves did well. We could start there. Like, I thought the half-court defense, other than all the fouls, and I think that was the case both ways. I don't know that it was, I don't know that the Wolves were playing. I don't know that it was entirely their fault that there were so many fouls called. We'll say it that way. But outside of the number of fouls that they committed defensively, I thought the half-court defense was really good in this game. Jamal Murray got hot at one point. Jokic did his thing, but for the most part, I thought it was competitive. It was good. It was transition defense that really did them in, and then obviously all the foul calls as well. I think we might have lost Marney. Are you there, Marney?
I'm back.
There you are. We lost you for just a second.
Yeah, that was weird. The connection on my phone said SOS. Is that a problem, do you think?
It doesn't sound good, but you're okay. It sounds like you're okay.
I'm good. Yep, I'm back.
Okay.
Where were we?
I was just talking about how the Wolves, I thought the half-court defense was good, other than the number of the fouls they committed, and the transition defense was not good. But in the half-court, I thought for the most part it was competitive tonight.
Yes, and when you're playing a team like Denver and you have a guy as dominant as Jokic, you probably try different things against him. And when the Wolves and Nuggets played at Target Center a couple of weeks ago, it was Kyle Anderson matched up against Jokic, and then Rudy kind of roaming around in the lane and at the rim. And then tonight it was Naz Reid on Jokic, not Kyle Anderson. And when we saw that kind of work itself out, and without Rudy in a game, you try different things, and there were times when Kyle Anderson was on Jokic, but I feel like that just dominates your defensive thought process. It has to. I mean, the guy's got 90 career triple doubles, so I think whatever the Wolves wanted to do defensively had to start with Jokic. And I mean, he had 31, which is not outrageous for him at all. But I agree. I I thought there was nobody else who was killing them, and that's kind of what you want to do, right? Jokic is going to get at least, something respectable. It's, do you let the other guys kill you as well? Jamal Murray had a really nice second half. 19 of his points came in the second half, but there was really nobody else that you're like, oh my gosh, that guy, that didn't happen. So I think it was a decent defensive effort by the Timberwolves, minus the fouls, but the fouls were egregious on both sides. That got to be a really long, especially third quarter. My goodness. But I don't fault the Wolves defense overall in this game.
Yeah, I agree. And offensively, I thought the offensive execution, I mean, Denver's not a great defensive team. They haven't been, at least to this point in the year, although they've been better lately. But the Wolves offensively, the ball movement was really good. In the first half, D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards were basically, it was like they weren't on the floor for the first quarter and a half offensively. Yeah. And yet the Wolves stayed afloat. They were only down 3 at the end of the first quarter. Ant had a really big close to the first half, which was important and put the Wolves ahead at halftime, really, because they were a +8 in the second quarter. But in a game, nobody scored more than 18 points on the Wolves. All starters had 13 or more. Jaden McDaniels actually led the team in scoring with 18 points. The ball was moving. Kyle Anderson did his part to pick apart the defense. D'Lo kind of picked his spots, and we'll talk about the last 3 minutes here in a moment. But for most of the game, we saw some solid offensive execution and of course, no Rudy Gobert on the floor. And we all know that changes the dynamic a bit when he is on the floor. But I was impressed with the ball movement overall, the cutting, and everything the Wolves did really in the half court.
Yeah, Naz Reid got to the free throw line. Luka Garza gave him 16 points in 17 minutes. I feel like one thing missing from this game offensively was Anthony Edwards' three-pointers. He did not hit a three in this game. And last time he was in that building at Ball Arena, he hit 10 of them. And it's just become such an important part of his game where he is not nearly as reliant on it, but it gives him such a nice balance, and it helps keep the defense off balance when he's a three-point threat, and he can also get to the rim as effectively and powerfully as he can. But when he has a night like tonight where he just doesn't hit any, then it sort of sways the balance. And I felt like that part of the game was just off for the Timberwolves, and they could have used a couple of threes here and there. Didn't mean they didn't have the looks, didn't mean they didn't get the good shots off, but when they're not falling, man, they're not falling. It changes a lot of things.
Today's presenting partner of the Postcast is BetOnline. Get the latest odds and trends for every pro sports league at betonline.net, from pro football to pro football playoffs, college basketball, whatever sport's going on, NHL, they've got it all at BetOnline. If you love sports podcasts, you can find those there too. They're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. Head to their website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Let's talk about Jaden McDaniels. I think maybe this side of Kyle Anderson, he was probably the Wolves' best all-around player in this game. Now, Jamal Murray went off. That isn't all on Jaden McDaniels. That's just also Jamal Murray, and McDaniels wasn't the only one guarding him. But for the most part, McDaniels was really good defensively. He was efficient again offensively, 18 points on 10 shots, moved the ball, made the right reads, which is something we're seeing more consistently, was active as a cutter. Another really good, and I feel like we've done this now, I don't know, for the last 5 shows, we've spent a couple of minutes just talking about Jaden McDaniels.
Well, I mean, when a guy's worthy, Yeah, and his other parts of his game have sort of caught up to how valuable he is on the defensive end. So when he's giving you the offense, when he's giving you the rebounds and the things that we've really praised him for, it just, man, his value just really skyrockets, and he continues to take the third-year leap that the Timberwolves have been hoping from him. I have not looked this up yet, but I would be curious to see the last time Jaden McDaniels led the Timberwolves in scoring, because that is not something that is something that the Wolves lean on him for. But on a night when D'Angelo Russell just really couldn't get cooking and the three ball wasn't falling for Anthony Edwards, then to see that the offensive production can keep coming from Jaden McDaniels, yeah, agreed. Important night from him.
Yeah, and the final 3 minutes of the game, we mentioned the Wolves were up 5 with about 2:50 to play after Russell hit that three, and then the Wolves' ensuing possessions were like, I had it pulled up here a minute ago and I lost it, but it was like missed three. There was the air ball through from Jaden
Turnover.
McDaniels from the corner, and then it was the Nas turnover where he tried to like a bullet pass to a cutting Edwards who stopped his cut. The ball flew out of bounds. And then you have the D'Lo three-pointer off the side of the backboard, which ended in a shot clock violation. There really wasn't. I think there was maybe one like legitimately missed shot in there. I think Edwards missed a shot in the lane or something. Everything else was just a really kind of a disaster of a possession. And the defense was still okay at that point. Like they got a couple of stops. Jokic committed an offensive foul, but then Murray ends up hitting the go-ahead basket. And then the Wolves end up losing their final timeout on an unsuccessful challenge. But the last 3 minutes, I think it was really all about offensive execution. And that was the biggest problem late.
And I felt like the Wolves just weren't crisp either, because there was a pass that got tipped out of bounds, and it was just like an entry pass from the point guard passing to the right side, right in front of the Denver bench, and it just got tipped out of bounds by whoever Denver's defender was, Jamal Murray or someone. And even that, it was like a minute and a half left in the game, and it just wasn't sharp, it wasn't crisp, it wasn't attention to detail, and it wasn't a turnover. It was just okay, come on, we got to lock in here. And the other thing I want to bring up that you haven't yet, and maybe you were going to, but Denver hit all 5 of their threes in the fourth quarter, and they went into the fourth quarter 3 of 16.
Yep.
And Denver was the number 1 shooting team from 3 in the entire NBA. So to hold them 3 of 16 for the first 3 quarters, which is I think 18 or 19%, was fantastic. And then they went 5 for 5 in the fourth. And that was the other thing that I don't know if it was the Wolves defense or just a team that is that good. You have to know those shots are going to fall eventually. I don't know where you want to put the blame on that one, but that was another big turning point for Denver in the fourth quarter, was that those shots started to fall, and then the Wolves, as we just talked about, were just not super crisp and clean in execution in the final few minutes. And you put them all together, and it was a good game. It was an entertaining game, but it was a 4-point loss for the Wolves in the end.
Yeah, the Wolves will see Denver twice more. Of course, the season series is tied now. They won't see them again until, well, I guess we're only a couple weeks away from the first week of February. But there's 2 games still against the Nuggets. And, Denver is now ascending to where I think everyone expected them to be. And like Michael Porter Jr. is another player who killed the Wolves last time. He didn't hit a 3 in this game. He only had 4 points.
He didn't play much in the second half either.
Yeah. It was Bruce Brown that was really kind of getting those minutes. And Aaron Gordon was relatively quiet in this game too. It was just kind of weird the way it unfolded. But I mean, the 2 guys who you'd expect to do damage, Jokic and Murray, did that. Anyway, we'll see how this looks the next time these 2 teams face off in a couple of weeks. The Wolves, of course, play now in, I don't know, what is this, like 17 hours from now or something? Not even that. I don't know. A little bit later today, the Wolves play.
It'll be 22 hours between tip-offs.
Yeah. So between the end of the game to the start of the next game, it's like less than 19 hours in Minneapolis against Toronto. Toronto's been playing a little bit better of late. And we'll see. It sounds like Rudy Gobert was legitimately questionable Wednesday, so perhaps he plays Thursday. Not sure. But it'd be good to get him back against the Raptors. And the Wolves need to try and break what is currently just a 2-game losing streak. They'll do that against the Raptors on Thursday. We go live, of course, after every Wolves game at the Locked On Sports Minnesota YouTube page. You can also listen on any of the Locked On Wolves audio feeds after the fact. So we'll see you after the Raptors game on Thursday night as well. A big thank you for watching. A big thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.